Well, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to, I'm Bushka on Blitz. Happy to have you back here for a little bit more love on channel in the month of Madness. We're doing a video every day, sometimes a stream and a video. Today we're going to be doing a stream and a video as well. We've got a stream coming up tonight for the Asian boys and girls. That's on Sydney time about 7:30. This, however, is the M4A3E8, otherwise known as the Easy 8. I've got 3 of these tanks at tier 6, and they've got great names. I've got the premium one, which is the Fury, after Brad Pitt's soul-searching performance there in the movie Fury, a story of a young tank and finding its way in the world. And I've got the Easy 8, which is this lovely machine here, and the Jumbo. The Sherman Jumbo is the other M4 at tier 6. They're all pretty special tanks, and they're a lot of fun. This one is particularly hilarious and a great time. Now, before I go any further, Patreon sponsorships are available. If you want to sponsor the channel from as little as $1 a month, click along to Patreon. The people on Patreon have been fantastic. The patrons have been amazing. You're making this happen. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing the month of madness. I wouldn't be getting the time off work, and we wouldn't be trying to make this a full-time gig so we can have tank love every day of the week. Now, what's so special about this tank? It's agile, which is fantastic. It's got some really, really good statistics in terms of mobility. It's got an excellent gun mantlet, and that goes along very well with the fantastic gun depression. So you have great rate of fire, great DPM, you're mobile, you've got a mantlet that can actually stop shots, although the rest of the turret, as you can see in a second, isn't that great, but you have 12 degrees of gun depression. And what that means is when you see situations like this, you can see just what 12 degrees of gun depression looks like there. You can get all the shots you need, and you want to be basically playing it where the only part they can hit, as you see we do get a bounce there, is the turret, mantlet, and the little spots either side. So you can be hit. It's certainly not a guaranteed bounce, but if you're moving backwards and forwards quickly like this, you're going to negate most of the shots, and the ones that you don't negate, they're going to have to really aim in or take a bit of a potluck chance on getting it to hit. And that's the best way to play the tank, because 12 degrees of gun depression is the same gun depression you get on the Comet, which, as you've probably seen, the review I did of that recently, is absolutely amazing and is a fantastic tank. This tank is not without its negatives, but it's got so many good points that you can play it and be really comfortable in so many different situations. And I'm a huge fan of gun depression, and that's something the Easy 8 has in spades. 12 degrees of negative gun depression is absolutely superb. Your frontal armor is pants, there's no denying it, and while you can sidescope a touch in it, it's certainly not built for that. It's built for getting out in flanks and exploiting situations where you can find hills and mounds. And this is what I'm talking about here. We've got a situation here on the old Rockfield map. Now you can see that's a really angled frontal upper glacis there, and it still went straight through. I think he might have been using a little bit of Premo, but either way, it went through. And then we get a bounce from that Kuro Moro Mini. And that's basically what you're looking to do in this tank. Move backwards and forwards really quickly. You don't sit there like a T32 or a T29 or a T34 or a T30 and just expect to bounce everything except for pinpoint accurate aim shots on your turret. What you're doing is moving backwards and forth at a great rate of knots and utilizing the high rate of fire. Now it's got 10.5 rounds a minute at 160 alpha. So for a tier 6 tank, that's in excess of 1600 damage per minute, which is an excellent statistic. It means you're going to do a whole lot of damage. You're going to be able to perma-track people if you can get shots through their drive wheels, all those kind of things. And you can see how often we're getting bounces here on that turret armor. It's not a guaranteed pen, but it's such a small area for them to pen that they often can't aim up quick enough. And when you're dealing with heavy tanks like this that have high aim times and you've got a quick rate of fire gun, you can really wreak havoc. And I mean, we won this one going away, but you can see how strong a position it is once you get hull down and how quick you can fire and how many shots you can bounce. Now, the big negative on the gun is 0.40 dispersion and 2.3 second aim time are not exactly fantastic, and your actual penetration numbers are really average. 128mm on your AP rounds, 177mm on your APCR. To give you some perspective on that, the 3485, the Russian counterpart, gets 144mm a pen on its AP and 195mm a pen on its APCR. The M6, the Tier 6 American heavy tank, is 160 and 243. The VK3002M is 150 and 194. So you can see where I'm coming from. It's really not that great in terms of penetration, but because you have so many opportunities with the mobility and the gun depression to get shots on, you'll often find that that's not a big deal. You have time to develop your shots, and you're going to get a lot of shots into the flanks and sides of enemy tanks. Your mobility is very nice. You've got 48 kilometers an hour speed limit, and you've got a 40-degree traverse and 39-degree turret traverse number, which puts you right up there in terms of mobility for the tier. You're not a Cromwell, which is probably the league leader in mediums at this tier in terms of mobility, but you are in fact pretty quick around the paddock, and you're more than quick enough to get yourself in situations to use shots. And you're going to see in this game here how we can actually utilize those skills that the Easy 8 brings to the table to manufacture kill steals like this into the side of the tank. That's what we're talking about. We got to the hill first, we moved up, we've got the gun depression. Negative 12 degrees of gun depression will give you a whole lot of love, and you're going to see some shots like you saw earlier on that are actually really tough to do in other tanks. Negative 12 degrees is just a rare thing. Negative 15 is about as low as it goes. The Dicker Max might be something like negative 18. That's a crazy gun depression tank. I think in Blitz it is certainly the highest gun depression statistic running around. And you see we've gone over the top. We've been a bit sensible with the tank, and we're just using that mobility and the rate of fire to pump them. Now, this is a Tier 7 game, so obviously in a Tier 7 game, penetration is going to play a big part, and we do have to fire some APCR here. Now, I'm just spotting targets, using the tank's good view range, good mobility, to have a look, see if there's anyone around, and then moving forward, because things are getting a little bit nasty, and there's still some very big dogs left. They've got the SU-100, they've got the Jag Panther, you can see there, they've got a T-29, so any of those tanks can really do some massive damage to me. I'm moving up towards the cap circle because there's an area around here where you can actually get shots into people down below, and there they are. They're all coming across the river, and we're going to pick a target out and do the business. Now, remember how I showed you the area around the turret is all you really want to be showing, and how it can be actually very difficult to hit this tank when that's all you're showing and you're moving backwards and forwards? Exactly. People will panic, they will fire, you can bait shots out. It's an excellent way of doing business. Now, we do have to use some APCR here. Now, the reason being, your penetration numbers at 128mm versus a T29 or an SU-100 are not going to guarantee pens. And when you're in a situation where you absolutely have to pen, you might want to look towards using some premium ammo. Now, you don't have to use it. It's quite possible that we could have won this game without it, but I wanted to get the win, so I did. And you can see here that SU-100 is rolling straight on up, and he's a bit confused, doesn't know who to hit. That's a good thing for us because we don't want him hitting us. So the M1's down, and we're on at the T29, and we're just trying to bait shots out of him. We've also got an AT with us in the cap. You can see how ready he is. Even using APCR, there are no real guaranteed pens apart from that absolute lower glacis. Now, the AT7 is down. That T29 has a lot of hit points left. And there's a little tank here called the Easy 8 that does not want a bar of a frontal brawl with a T29. Not with these penetration stats. So what I'm going to do is bait him up and then go down. I'm basically getting off the map, getting out of camo so he doesn't know that I'm taking the exit, and then hitting around. Now, the reason I do that is because if I'm coming around this corner down the bottom, again, I have the opportunity to use the only really solid armor profile I have, which is my gun mantlet. You see, I can actually put my gun mantlet hull down over the top of this berm here, or use the carcass of this bombed out T29 from my own team earlier. That's Eat Black Tiger, one of our subscribers. G'day, Black Tiger. To put shots into the T29, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, I love this tank. I was rubbish at it when we started. I'm bloody glad that I rebought it and we had a crack at it. You can see here the low pen numbers. I've got a chance here to perma-track him. We've got 10.5 rounds a minute. We're going to blow adrenaline and we can perma-track him. But even using APCR, I wanted to just test this out. I can't get through that drive wheel. So we've had to actually just do it the old-fashioned way. Well, we're going to have to take a shot and then just put a couple into him and get the win. So tier 7 game, this will give us the mastery. Look at that, that's with AP. There's a whole lot of red there. But that's a tier 7 heavy, and in fact, it's one of the strongest tier 7 heavies in the game, or one of the strongest heavies in the game, pound for pound, really, the T29, even after they've nerfed it down a bit. It's certainly nothing to sneer at. So there's your gold M. I had bigger damage games in the tank, but for whatever reason, they were not mastery games, and they weren't as edifying as that in terms of showing what's good and what's bad about the tank. So there we go, boys and girls. I run a pretty simple loadout in that too. I run RAM events and V-stab because the 2.3 second aim time and the 0.40 dispersion certainly need a little bit of help. And V-stab and vents, along with rations and the double fuel provision, is probably the best way of maximizing your gun handling and your mobility. A really, really entertaining tank that I was very bad in when I started out and improved it tremendously across the course of the last week or so. It's a wonderful little tank. I highly recommend it. Now, you might have seen the Falls Creek map overview we did last night. There's going to be more of those coming up. They seem to be very, very well received. We're going to be having a look at the Super Pershing. I actually journeyed all the way to the EU server to do the review. I've got the tank over there on EU, and we were running around with 350 ping. We're going to be having a look at the M103. Shane Tempo, you'll be loving that, living large. You've been asking for that for a long while, human. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming up, but I'm also going to be sticking with the lower tier things too. I'm going to do the VK2801. I want to do the M4 Jumbo. And even some of the stuff down at 3 and 4 are going to be hitting up as well. Basically, an absolute cubic arseload of content. So buckle up. As always, if you'd like to sponsor the channel, check out the Patreon link there from as little as $1 a month. Otherwise, you've been bloody lovely. Stay safe on the battlefield. Oh, there's going to be an M46 pattern mastery game. Ta-ta, bye for now.